Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. And the world's greatest football team will finally be playing in the Champions League next season for the first time in more than 40 years. My goodness, it's been a long, long old time, hasn't it, since we saw the very best there. But did we look like the best today against Crystal Palace? Look, I'm not going to dwell too much on this game. I don't really think there's much point on it. Uh, it was 5-0 to Crystal Palace. What a hilarious thing that this season is probably the best I've ever seen in my life. The first season I ever watched Aston Villa was 92-93 when we came second in the Premier League. And then 2 years later, we won the Coca-Cola Cup. And I thought, supporting Villa is easy. This is just what we do. We finish top two, we win trophies, blah, de blah, easy, steamroller sides. And then for the next 30 years, it wasn't quite like that until this season when we did actually manage to get into the very top tournaments of Champions League, but also, you know, beat teams very, very impressively on a very consistent basis, play absolutely fantastic football with 10 out of 10 performances from a squad that showed such incredible resilience. It is hilarious, though, however, that we started this season with a 5-1 slam dunking by Newcastle, where it all just went wrong thanks to the traumatic injury to Tyrone Mings, disrupted the defense. Pau Torres has to come on for his debut. Group of players unfamiliar with each other, having to play a high line away at Newcastle where the atmosphere is just going mad. You've got Harvey Barnes running in behind. It was just one of them sort of freakish days where everything that could go wrong went extremely wrong. But Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex, the goat of football managers, of Premier League football managers, he did say after that, didn't he, that there was something in Aston Villa. And yes, didn't we just show it as the season progressed? Bounced back a week later by battering Everton 4-0. But it's quite hilarious that we started the season with that 5-1 hammering, proceeded to have the best season in forever, and ended the season with a 5-0 slam dunking by Crystal Palace. Now, I actually did think this sort of a result might be on the cards. Primarily, no, I was on Villa Forever podcast with Jacob Tanswell, Dan Bardell, and Chad from who hosts the Villa Forever, had us all on for a sort of end of season review. And I did say, who cares? Maybe 3-2 to Villa. That was more in blind hope than anything. But I think, with Crystal Palace's form, the momentum that's with them, all of their attacking players in sharp form, they've just gained that end of season wave of momentum that sometimes just it's like a big you can't stop it. You're out at sea and that wave hits you and you just roll with it. You got to roll with it. You got to take your time, and that's it. And Aston Villa, I think, have been look, the injury crisis we've faced this season has been absolutely like nothing I've ever seen. And how on earth we have managed to see out this season, continuing to get important results here, there, and bloody everywhere, fighting back against Liverpool to 3-3, getting that 2-2 against Chelsea, who are in great form themselves, beating Bournemouth 3-1. Getting these results that we needed, just getting over the line, showing a level of resilience that I don't really associate with Villa teams growing up, has been absolutely phenomenal and just shows what an incredible job Unai Emery's done and the way these players have, the belief they have in themselves and the football they're playing is clearly getting the best out of them. So yeah, I think given the sheer volume of energy these players have exerted, given the fact that, I'd say a lot of us had emotional outpourings this week with the Champions League qualification at the Players' Awards, given the volume of players we didn't have available today, the volume of players we haven't had available pretty much since the start of the season. Think about it. Morgan Rogers wasn't there. Emi Martinez, Leon Bailey, Yuri Tielemans, Boubacar Kamara, Jacob Ramsey, Emi Buendia, Tyrone Mings. Every single one of these players has been injured all bloody, for long periods this season. Taking Pau Torres as well, who was out for nearly 2 months as well, from December through to February. So I think the players have probably earned the right, really, to go into the last day of the season. And maybe, with the Euros and a a Euros and a Copa America around the corner, perhaps going to this day and not quite be at the sort of mental and physical 100% that they have been all of this season. So fine, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Um, would you? I think I would have been a bit more concerned. In the 65th minute, I think Palace got to 5-0 very quite early on, around the 70th minute mark. I think if that game had ended up like an 8 or a 9-0, I think I'd have then I think that would have been quite concerning, because you do ride momentum sometimes, and a result of that sort of catastrophic nature would have been not great. But look, 5-0. I mean, whatever. The high line. I think this game demonstrated how hard it is to do the high line. The first goal, Longley just follows Mateta. God only knows why, and therefore plays him on side and breaks the high line, and Mateta scores. Then the second goal, Luca Dean's just out of sync with the rest of the line. So again, it plays the wide player on line who whips it in, and there's Mateta for the goal. Eze's goal, second half, had absolutely acres. The ball just rolls to him. No one tracks him down. I think Mateta's third goal, where he turns the long lay, Luca Dean just gives up on it. Stuff like that. That's just not what Villa are or have been this season. So, look, if they're on the beach, well, then it is what it is. Fine. I know a lot of fans online were getting. I saw a lot of people getting very, very annoyed. Actually, this is a disgrace. Blah blah blah. Honestly, if I look at what these players have done this season, the energy levels they've exerted, I sort of don't really mind if they're like, I don't want to break my leg today. I don't want to do my hamstring. We're playing against a Palace team who just are in red hot form and are just up for it and going to score. And I think Michael Elise showed, a player who, because I've seen, look, I don't watch loads and loads of Crystal Palace. What I've seen of Elise, I think he's looked good. I've not quite bought into him being like a 70 million pound player yet. But what I saw today when he came inside, came deep between the lines, found space, got the ball into him, back to goal usually from Adam Wharton, who picked out nice, neat and tidy passes. Very nice and neat and tidy player, Wharton, clearly. Finds it into Elise, who turns, and he was causing havoc all day. He's playing against a team that's basically on the beach FC, hangover FC. So, I'd like to see him do it in a much more intense environment, but you can see why Palace have done so well recently, because they do have some brilliant attacking players in Elise, particularly in Eze as well, fantastic player. And Mateta's really, really found it, hasn't he? He's a big physical unit, and I think if they can keep that core unit together next season, Palace, they might go on and do something very special indeed. With a manager who won the Europa League with Frankfurt, who knows where they could get to. But I'd be questioning whether they hold on to all them players, particularly if one of the bigger, well, not bigger, but one of the teams that finished, regularly in the Champions League have big revenues come in and just decide to spend 70 million on Elise or Eze, see what happens there. And would Eze, or, I've seen Villa linked with Elise this week. I could definitely see why we are. Do I think we have the money to spend at the moment? It does sound, from what Unai Emery said in the press conference, like Villa are going to have to be quite clever this summer. So I think if we're going to make big bids, it probably has to come with sales as well. So just has to be wise and smart. But look, I don't want to talk too much on that. It's been an absolutely incroyable season, amazing season. One of the best I've ever seen. Let me know what you think about it. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, Acast, Amazon, Alexa, whatever it is, Google, whatever, wherever the podcasts are, all of them. Follow us. Please give us 5-star reviews. Please just go on Spotify, click on that 5-star review. Helps us get up on the algorithms. Been gaining loads of followers recently. YouTube as well. Subscriptions again help us just keep growing as a channel. It's been a fantastic season. Thank you so much to everybody who's listened to us. I think if I'm to look back on this season, we'll do a season review coming this week. I think if we're to look back on this season, I think my highlight would be beating Manchester City 1-0. I think that was a Pep Guardiola team has never lost as badly as that ever in history. Statistically, genuinely, a Pep Guardiola team, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, has never been that heavily beaten all around for a full 90 minutes ever than that. that is a historically brilliant performance from Villa against a team that we never beat. And it showed you what we're made of. And then the next game, 3 days later, we go and beat bloody Arsenal. And then that later this season, beating Arsenal 2-0 away. Again, pulling that result out of, fantastic performance, but pulling that result just kind of out of almost a bit out of nowhere, given the fact we just played in Europe, we just had that, that big game against Lille. It was just extraordinary. The European semi-final as well, getting to a semi-final, a team that's not played in Europe for 16 years, forget Rapid Vienna, a team that's not had a proper run in Europe for 16 years. It's difficult to play in Europe. It's a whole new experience for this group of players. So getting to a semi-final and our first time back in Europe is a fantastic achievement, as well as still getting top four. Wow. Goal of the season for me, goal against Arsenal. John McGinn, start to finish, Unai Emery ball, distilled, pure, unadulterated Emery ball. He'd been there just over a year when it happened. The goal went from start to finish. Pau Torres ball into Ollie Watkins, puts it out to Tielemans. Tielemans understanding with Bailey, pulls it back to McGinn. What a finish. Start to finish, it was a sign of what we've come to get used to at Aston Villa. Fantastic football, calm, composed, brilliant football. Are there things I think could improve for next season? Definitely. We're definitely conceding way too many goals at the moment, particularly when just a little sort of lack of aggression at times when we're defending, when the ball comes into the area. And at times I sort of think, if that it is a trend now, it's something that's been happening since at least late December, January, that have been conceding that. We've had a couple of leads where we've been 2-0 up, gone to 2-2, gone to 3-2. Brentford, for instance, Forest pulled back goals against us, Luton pulled back goals, Chelsea pulled back goals. So these are definitely things that have emerged towards the end of the season, that Unai Emery, being the top manager with his top coaches, are going to look at, I'm sure, this summer. They're going to work out, is there a profile of player we need to perhaps cut out? Do we need just a big bloody defender? Maybe Mings coming back next season will make a difference. But do we need a big defender to win a few more headers sometimes, to just be a bit more aggressive and sometimes wake us up if we're, I've said this a million times on the podcast at times when we've gone from that 2-0 to that 2-2, where we've been calm and composed, and then we look casual, and then teams up the momentum because they just go for it, and we just stay casual. It's like we don't react in game to the upping of the momentum from the opposition. So again, that's something I think next season we should work on, and it can be done because think about it. Last season, Arsenal, blew the title really because they were winning games 2-0 in sort of March, April last year. I think Liverpool away is one I can think of off the top of my head. There were a couple of others as well where they were 1-0 ahead, 2-0 ahead, and then didn't hold on to it. They went and signed Declan Rice, obviously, a fantastic player, but a big physical presence. They sorted out their defence, are a little bit more of a tighter defensive unit. And if you look at how many goals they've conceded this season to what they conceded last season, it's a big difference. And they came even closer, so close this season, but certain club in claret and blue in the Midlands Cup might well have cost them that title with 2 wins over them, mightn't they? So yeah, but so obviously things to work on this summer. That's something we'll talk about a little bit more in the podcast. We're going to keep producing podcasts all summer. Keep on coming, keep on. So look out for that. Look out, subscribe, put the bell button on your YouTube, on your Spotify, Apple. Just do it. You get it there, and even and then you'll see, and you'll go click in, and you'll think, oh, this idiot's talking again. Look, what's this moron got to say? Come on, you don't think I'm a moron, do you? Please tell me you don't. Look, what an amazing season. I really am keen to hear in the YouTube comments below. Comment on Twitter if you follow us there. Comment on Spotify as well. You can do that now on Apple. Let us know what you think about this season. What's been some of your highlights? Like I say, there will be reviews coming up. Our award show that we have every year. Might get my little black tie on. Just dressing smart like the Villa players did for the end of season awards. And I also see Villa have just tweeted the Adidas logo, or if you're in the United States, the Adidas logo. That's what they call it in the US, Adidas. Everywhere else we call it Adidas. And then a new badge. It's been a big old chinwag controversy this season, hasn't it? Oh, badge gate. I've not really gone too deeply into it because it's just not something I've been too focused on really compared to other things. With Villa, really, I'm more focused on like the football side of things really to that. But I think look, a whole new era has begun already. And I think with Aston Villa getting into the Champions League, I think that we have to look at this now and think for the future, this is not this is not like a one-off. This is not just something that we did once and then, wasn't that a great time? We have to see this as the end of the beginning of Unai Emery's tenure. Now is the start of a new part. It's a new chapter. It's a new era, a new part of the Unai Emery era, a new glorious part of it. And we look at it. You look at Tottenham in 2010. You look at Atletico Madrid in 2010. Both of those teams had not been in the Champions League forever. Tottenham had never been in it, and they both got there, and they both stayed there regularly. Because it changed their identity. Other players, they looked at those clubs and they thought, they're a Champions League club. I could go join them. I could maybe go and have a career there. And then those teams regularly got into the Champions League. And I think we have to look at that as examples and think, okay, if they can do it, Aston Villa can do it as well. That's what we have to believe. This is not where it ends. This is not the peak. This is not the begin. The one great moment we had, and then it went back to the mean. No, there will be ups and downs, I'm sure. Perhaps next season there might be reasons that Chelsea, Newcastle come back, United come back. Might be more competition again. It's always going to be like that in the Premier League. But at the same time, Aston Villa can always compete. We can do this. And next season in the Champions League, that theme tune playing in Villa Park, tears running down my face thinking about it. We've got to think about that and think, I think next season we're going to get a couple of big scouts, going to get a couple of big results. 8 Champions League games, 4 at Villa Park in minimum. Who knows? We could get into that playoff, get 2 more. Maybe we could go all the way and get even further and get straight into the knockouts. So extremely excited. Cannot wait for next season already. I'm glad the season's over. I was just the stress of following it in recent weeks, thinking, were we going to get top 4, knowing that a lot of these players are playing through injuries, knowing the energy they've exerted with the sheer volume of games they've played. Tottenham have barely played the maximum number of games that Tottenham could play this season. We reached that tally when we lost to them at the start of March. That's what an accomplishment we have had this season. And you look at Newcastle and Manchester United, and those clubs did not deal with their injury crises as well as Aston Villa did. And you could argue, there's no reason they couldn't have done. Newcastle, I think, probably had it a bit worse than United, but I think United, they certainly had players to do all right, but they didn't pull it out. So, again, what an accomplishment from Villa, what an accomplishment from these players, from this board, both sides. Behind the scenes, I'm sure it's all going great. Hopefully, preparing us for this summer and, looking at what we can do in the transfer market. I can't wait. I'm really excited to see what we do. Thank you so much for listening this season. There will be a season review show coming this week. We'll see when that comes out. Can't wait to do that. And then there'll be plenty more content coming in the weeks and months ahead. I cannot wait. Bloody Aston Villa, we've done it. Come on. Yes, feels good, done it. What a season. What a team. Thank you so much. Up the mighty Villa.